the last topic that we have in computer network, that is the network security, right? So I'll be talking about something related to network security now. Again, the objective is not to make you an expert in network security. You do have the entire subject called e-commerce and e-security in your 7th semester, where the respective faculty will be talking in detail what do you mean by network security, what do you mean by data security, and what are the different aspects of it. So my objective is not to teach you in detail what is network security and what are the aspects of security and stuff like that. But my objective again is to give you a bird's eye view, right? That when I say security in computing system, what do you mean by security in computing system, and what exactly I do when I say I'm implementing security? What exactly I'm expected to do, or what exactly I'm talking about it, right? So let us try to take some glimpse, right, or some introduction or some flavor of what is network security. Maybe the detailed of this would be covered in the 7th semester, in the higher semester, when you take up the subject e-commerce and e-security, right? So yeah, but just to give you a high level introduction of what is network security, we'll try to take up this few sessions. So maybe I'll take up some part here, and the remaining part I'll try to take up in the next class, right? So hopefully by next class we'll try to finish off this topic, right? So that by Wednesday we are good to go, and we can give you some off and few days off before your examination. So that is what our target is. Okay. So yes, what do you mean by security in computing system, right? So when I talk about security in computing system, there are basically 3 different aspects of security in computing system, right? You might have heard these terms before, right? Something is what is referred as the system security. The second aspect is referred as the network security, and the third aspect which is referred as the data security, right? तो जब भी कोई कंप्यूटिंग मशीन है या कोई कंप्यूटिंग सिस्टम है, उसकी सिक्योरिटी की हम लोग बात करते हैं, तो हम 3 लेयर पे सिक्योरिटी की बात करते हैं, राइट? द फर्स्ट लेयर इज कॉल्ड द सिस्टम सिक्योरिटी. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय सिस्टम सिक्योरिटी? System security means the security of that computer itself, right? So whether I have placed that computer properly, is it accessible to me only? So for example, my computer is there in my cabin, and I usually lock my cabin when I go outside. Why I'm doing it? Because I want to make my computer secure, right? I do not want any unauthorized person to come in and get hands on my computer, right? So that is what you mean by system security, right? The securing the physical device itself, securing the computing device itself, right? So system security is basically, there are 2 aspects of there are 2 ways in which you can implement system security. One is called the physical security, that is you keep the people who are not authorized to access that computer, or the people who are not authorized to access that machine, you have to keep them away. You have to keep your computers in a lock and key mechanism, right? So that is called the physical way of securing the system. Apart from the physical security, there is also an additional level of security which is implemented in software, right, in order to make sure that your system is only accessed by the authorized user, right? And that is called trusted systems, right? So trusted system means what? The system is not able to be used by anybody without the proper login credentials, right? So nowadays in most of the operating systems are trusted operating system, and most of the operating system implements this mechanism of user base credentials or user base authentication, right? So even though my computer is there, even though my cabin is open, somebody could come into my cabin and somebody could start my computer, but they won't be able to enter into it, and they won't be able to use it because it is password protected, right? Because there is a password, there is a credential which only I know, right? Or maybe some of my colleagues who are working on the machine, they know. But apart from that, no unauthorized person actually know the credential, and therefore they are not able to use the machine. So this is called the trusted system, right? So physical security, the 2 aspects or the 2 ways of making a system security, that is the securing the system physically and securing the system from unauthorized access using password protection, that is called the trusted system mechanism. So that is all about securing the computing device itself. The second aspect of the security is network security. What do you mean by network security? Like one computer in my cabin is connected with the other computer in HOD sir's cabin. We both are connected with network, right? So I can send details to him, he can send details to me. And we want to protect this connection also, right? So when we talk about protecting, the individual devices are protected, but whether the line, or whether the what we can say, whether the physical cable which is connecting my machine with their machine is protected or not. Can somebody come and tap in that particular table, right, or that particular wire, right? So tapping, right, you can put up an electromagnetic device just to make it out what kind of signals are being transmitted in the cable, and based on the signals transmitted, you can actually decode that what kind of informations are transmitted here. So in the sci-fi movie, in the older sci-fi movie, we used to have this. They tap the wire and then immediately the video is visible. There is a hacker who's sitting in the van, away from the crime scene, and then somebody goes into the building and tap the CCTV camera so that the CCTV camera is immediately visible there, something like that, right? So whether the network security means whether the connection between these two machines is secure, right? So whether the person who's trying to access device through internet or through network, whether they are authorized people or not, right? So for that can be implemented. Again, there are two ways of doing it. First of all, I have to physically make sure that the cables and the tapping mechanisms are not accessible to anybody. So therefore, most of the you can see the switches, right? We keep it in a lock and key. We make sure that nobody is able to plug in the wire or cable inside our network without our knowledge, right? So that is the physical aspect. Second is the software aspect, where we try to protect our devices by implementing firewalls, right? So if somebody is trying to connect into our network remotely, then they are not able to do so because the firewall protects them from connecting into our network. They have to provide certain credentials, then they will be able to access the devices inside the network. Otherwise, they will not be able to access those devices. So this is the second aspect, right? Who can connect to your network and who cannot connect to your network, right? So who can connect to your system, the computer, and who cannot connect to your system? That is called system security. Who can connect to your network and who cannot connect to your network? That is called the network security. And the third aspect is called the data security. Suppose anybody is able to connect to your network and anybody is able to capture the data, but then we are making sure that those data is in such a form that only the intended receiver is able to interpret that data. Even if somebody captures the data, right? Even if somebody is able to connect to our machine, even if somebody is able to connect to our network, even if somebody is able to capture our data, but then they are not able to read the data because the data is not in a readable format. We have converted data into a different format, and then only the intended receiver can convert it back into the original format and can interpret that data. So this third part is called the data security. That is called cryptography, right? So if you want to secure your computing infrastructure, if you want to secure your computing system, you have to consider security at all these three levels. You have to consider the security of individual computers, who can access, who cannot access. You have to consider the security of the network, who can connect to your network, who cannot connect to your network. And then at the third level, you have to make sure the security of data, that is who can read, write, and interpret the data, right? So even though somebody is capturing a data, you have to make sure that the data is not in a readable form, it is in a different form, so that nobody is able to interpret it. Even though they are able to capture it, but they are not able to interpret it. So this third aspect of data security is mostly implemented in software. There is no physical thing here because the data itself is not physical, right? Data is not going in pen and paper. Data is going through software, right? So therefore, the data security aspect is also completely implemented inside the software. And the kind of mechanism used to implement data security is called the cryptography, right? So this is what we are going to talk about today, that what is cryptography and how cryptography can be implemented, right? But this is the three different aspects of security in computing system. So what is cryptography? So cryptography means that in the narrower sense that, it mangling the information into an uninterpretable or unintelligent form, right? So you might have seen the sci-fi movies, right? Like the Benjamin Franklin movie, like The National Treasure, right? I think most of you have seen that movie, The National Treasure. John. So in that movie, you see that there are clues, and these clues are implemented into the text format, right? They have given those clues. Those clues were written on the books. Those clues were written on a pen and a piece of paper. But those piece of paper, the clues are not written in a plain text form. They don't tell you that, okay, you go to this place and get this information, right? But those clues were written in encrypted form, in some kind of unintelligent form. So you have to really work through it in order to get the real meaning of that information, right? So that is what you mean by putting the information in public, but putting it in such a way that it is unintelligible, that it is not directly meaningful, right? So in order to convert that information in a meaningful context, you have to again decode it back. So there is a process of encoding, converting information into uninterpretable form, and there is a process of decoding where you convert that information back into the interpretable form. That is what is referred as cryptography. So in cryptography, we refer encryption, and this decoding process is referred as decryption. So we have a process of encryption, we have a process of decryption. So through encryption, we convert the information into unintelligent form, and through decryption, we convert that unintelligent information back into the intelligent form. So that is what we are doing in the cryptography, right? So there are other terms related to it. That is called cryptanalysis. The cryptanalysis is the study of the methods for breaking the cryptographic code, right? So for obtaining the meaning of the encrypted message from the secret message. So when we convert the message into a unintelligent form, we call it a secret message, right? So that is the cryptography, converting message into an unintelligent form and converting back into the intelligent form. That is called cryptography. Cryptanalysis means that try to break this code and try to understand the unintelligent information without knowing the secret, right? So without knowing the password or without knowing the key phrase, right? So we'll try to talk about that in a little while, but this is called cryptanalysis. And cryptography and cryptanalysis together is what is referred as the field of cryptology, right? So in the next class, we'll try to talk about what is cryptography, how cryptography is used, what are the different kinds of attacks possible, and how cryptography can be used to tackle those kind of attacks. So that we'll try to talk about in the next class. So you hope you might have enjoyed today's session. And if you have any doubt related to it, you can raise your doubts, or else you are free to leave the class. Okay, I think we are already, it is 12:15.